Simon & Schuster Audio presents Star Trek Deep Space Nine Fallen Heroes by David Abhu. Read by René Auberjonois.
Personal log of Constable Odo, stardate 47237.5. I do not see the purpose for this exercise in verbal rationalization. Why do I need a personal log to justify executing my law enforcement duties on Deep Space Nine? Either I maintain order in this maelstrom of immorality, in which case what do my methods matter? Or else I fail, and I should be discharged. But the chattering class of Federation officers has dictated that every action be thoroughly justified before, during, and after the fact. Thus, I bow to the inevitable. This particular incident began when a rattletrap Lenation freighter that looked like something the Ferengi dragged in limped through the wormhole from the Gamma Quadrant. The owner, a Captain Square Deal John Reel, assuming that isn't an alias, rushed straight to Quark, our own public enemy number one, owner of the source of the maelstrom of immorality, Quark's place. There, they concluded a transaction for a sealed Cardassian lockbox. The deal was typically Ferengi. Captain John Reel demanded hard latinum up front, but Quark managed to talk the dim-witted Lenation into selling the box on consignment, splitting the proceeds, I'm not making this up, 60-60. As I said, Lenations are not known for their blinding intelligence. I was quite worried about the box's contents. I decided to investigate.
Odo, the shape-shifting constable of Deep Space Nine, suddenly loomed behind Quark, causing the startled Ferengi to leap to his feet.
You damn spy! What were you this time? A chair? A waste disposal unit? What was I? Why, I was your conscience, Quark. No wonder you didn't notice me. What do you want now?
Constable Odo put his hand firmly on the Cardassian box.
This will be scanned by Chief O'Brien before anybody opens it. What if there's a bomb inside?
Quark tried to snatch the box from Odo's grip. He argued and wheedled, then grudgingly conceded, primarily because he was unable to budge Odo's hand from the box.
All right, but it's mine, all mine, and I don't want O'Brien opening it, just scanning.
After an interminable search, they managed to track down Master Chief Miles O'Brien, the station's chief engineer. Busy as he was, he grudgingly made time when Odo told him the box was from the Gamma Quadrant.
Nothing dangerous. 3 inert objects, a Cardassian disruptor. A disruptor? Discharged. Also some unknown device. What does it do? Well, not enough power to do anything much.
Quark plucked the box from Odo's frustrated grasp and stormed back to his own office. But the constable stuck like gum to the Ferengi's heels. After futilely trying to shoo Odo away, Quark set the box on his desk and began to gently pick the lock. Inside were 3 squatty statues, each more grotesque than the last. The depleted Cardassian disruptor, absolutely valueless, and the unknown device, whose only value lay in its mystery. The device was shaped like a dark gray belt buckle, larger than a phaser, but smaller than a tricorder. Tiny sucker pads made it stick to the box, to Quark's hand, to the table when he yanked his paw away. There was no physical button, but Quark's sensitive ear hairs told him it had a microwave switch. He picked up his ear pricker, a Ferengi tool for manipulating frequency locks and other electromagnetic buttons, and gently probed the device. Odo glared suspiciously at Quark.
Where did you get that burglar's lockpick, Quark? It's perfectly legal, too. Definitely a microwave vortex switch. So, what does this thing do?
I haven't the slightest idea, and I have no more time to waste on you. I have a station full of less successful criminals than you to jail. Hand it over.
It's mine! You can't have it!
Hand it over for testing. O'Brien will thoroughly test this item before you get it back. I'm sure he'll be able to get around to it in a few days.
But what if the oaf accidentally destroys it while testing it?
Then you can pay that pirate captain 60% of the nothing you'll get for it.
You were spying on me!
Furious, Quark leaped up, the alien device in one hand, ear pricker in the other, poised dramatically.
If there's any testing to do, I'll do it myself. Stand by to be dazzled.
No, put that down. I will not allow you to jeopardize this station by activating some unknown Gamma Quadrant device. Quark pressed the ear pricker contact button, probing the force vortex. The ear pricker matched frequencies immediately. Deep Space Nine lurched beneath Ferengi's feet. The lights vanished into a soupy blackness. Squealing like a stuck Greeka pup, he dropped both ear pricker and alien device, feeling his body rolled flat like cookie dough. He awoke on the deck in eerie silence. The dim blue glow of emergency lighting lit the office. Quark climbed shakily to his knees, rubbing his aching ears. A puddle quivered on the floor. It drew into itself, formed up into a column of Constable Odo. Odo glowered as if to say, I meant to do that. Something was terribly wrong. But for a moment, Quark could not identify the problem. Then he noticed his sensitive ears were sending an urgent message. Silence. 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 No customers. No howls from the Dabo players. Quark heard nothing but the steady hum of his antique Klingon clock.
What happened to the rest of the station?
Maybe your new toy made them all go away. Shaking, Quark stooped, picked up the alien device instead of his beloved ear pricker. He could not have said why. As he stood, he felt a metal band clamp around his biceps. It was Odo's hand, which he had shifted into a manacle. The constable touched his comm badge. Odo to Ops. Odo to Ops. Major Kira, are you available? Anybody? Ops? Engineering? Security? Chief O'Brien, can you get the lights on in Quark's place? Where is everybody? All right, Quark. Let's take a little stroll. Odo propelled Quark out the office door and down the stair onto the main floor of Quark's place. It was dark, all the lights off, as in the office. There were no customers. Something was on the floor, a bundle. Odo knelt, examined it. I think you'd better have a look at this. Reluctantly, Quark crouched, stared at the bundle. It was a man, a Ferengi. It was wrong. He was covered with dried blood from a dozen wounds. Quark backpedaled from his brother's body.
I had nothing to do with this. You're my witness, Odo.
I didn't see a thing, Quark. I was a puddle of liquid, remember? Rom had been slain by a dozen puncture wounds, each made with considerable force. Odo made a pair of long fingers, inserted them into one hole, and plucked out a flattened cylinder of soft metal, approximately 10 millimeters in diameter. Do you recognize this, Quark?
It's not mine.
I mean, you villain, do you recognize what kind of weapon this is? Quark peeked between his fingers.
Chemically propelled rifle bullet.
Now, why would someone use it on a shopkeeper? Quark, I think I see more bodies. They found 4 other corpses, all customers shot by the same sort of chemically propelled bullets. Odo sought for a motive. Is there anything missing, Quark?
Missing?
Taken. Was anything taken by the killers?
Taken? You mean stolen?
Reminded of Ferengi priorities, Quark ran to the safe. Inside were 6 bars of gold-pressed latinum, untouched, and thousands of Dabo chips. Not a single item of value was taken.
You mean they did all this for some reason other than loot?
Odo ignored the Ferengi's question.
I don't like this. Firearms are loud. Somebody should have heard the weapon's discharge. Where is everybody?
Odo dragged Quark out of the door into the promenade, then stopped in confusion. Dozens of dead bodies were piled in heaps along the bulkheads. Even manacled by Odo's fist, Quark managed to cringe, a remarkable display of contortionism.
It's not my fault. I didn't do it. It's you. You did it.
Silence, Quark. Do you have a chronometer that isn't tied to the station computer?
I have an antique Klingon clock in my office, battery-powered. Why?
I need a time check for the investigation. I have a terrible feeling I know what's happened.
What investigation?
Even if we're the only people left alive on this station, I am still the constable, and I will conduct an investigation. Any questions?
No questions.
Klingon clock. I have a terrible feeling I know what's happened.
Odo took the stairs 4 at a time, dragging Quark. In the Ferengi's office, the constable studied the clock.
Quark, what time do you see on this clock?
Quark glanced at the clock, then did a double-take.
Wait, that can't be right. The batteries must be low.
What does it show?
It says, 10:35, stardate 47237.8, but that's wrong. That's 3 days from now. Besides, my pocket watch shows it's 12:38 already.
Odo stared at the clock. When he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion.
No, Quark. It's not wrong. Your blasted Gamma Quadrant device seems to have locked us into a static time bubble for 3 days. And somehow, during that time, something or someone attacked and destroyed Deep Space Nine. And if no one has come to help by now, after all this time, then I suspect they aren't coming at all.
Major Kira Nerys, first officer of Deep Space Nine, had the comm. She finally asked the question that had puzzled her all day.
Has anybody seen Odo or Quark for the last 26 hours?
She was not particularly concerned about the latter, but it was odd that both Constable and Public Enemy Number 1 should disappear simultaneously. Lieutenant Jadzia Dax, the Trill science officer, checked her console.
Ship coming through the wormhole? No, I haven't seen them, Kira. What kind of ship is that, Dax? It doesn't match any ship designs I've ever seen, and there's something else weird. Yes? Well, it reached the wormhole, so it has warp speed capability, but there is no antimatter on that ship. Kira, these guys are visitors from the Gamma Quadrant. They have to be. Commander Monitor 3, Dax thinks the ship is from the Gamma Quadrant.
The voice of Benjamin Sisko, commander of Deep Space Nine, floated over the communications link from his office.
I'll be right down.
High above them, Sisko popped out of his office. Kira wondered, not for the first time, how he managed to always have a uniform so crisp you could cut bread with the creases, and boots so shiny you could bounce a laser off them. Sisko approached the ops table.
Hail them.
The alien voice echoed eerily through ops.
You will surrender your prisoner or be destroyed.
Kira responded instantly.
Shields up.
Lieutenant Dax huddled over her science console, preternaturally calm.
They're speaking in Cardassian, but they're not Cardassians. Open a channel, Lieutenant. This is Commander Sisko of Bajoran and Federation Station Deep Space Nine. We are holding no prisoners from the Gamma Quadrant.
Prepare to be boarded.
Dax, get us some help.
Kira futilely tried to raise the constable.
Odo, answer me. Security, anybody, priority 1.
Nobody responded to either Dax's subspace message or Kira's emergency call. Chief O'Brien shouted from the engineering well.
They put a shield around the station. It's stopping all subspace communications. Can you break through it, Chief? No, Lieutenant.
Sisko interrupted with a more urgent question.
Chief, are our own shields holding? So far, sir, but we can't break out.
Sisko nodded, decided to escalate the situation.
Kira, fire phasers, but just burn their noses a bit. Nothing too serious.
Kira's fingers ripped across her console, almost too fast to see.
Damn it, I can't lock on them. Firing by visual.
She fired 2 short phaser bursts, one at each propulsion pod of the alien ship. The blue phaser streams struck their targets. Incredibly, the phaser blasts reflected like lasers off a mirror. Astonished, she fired a barrage along the alien hull. Wherever the phasers struck, they reflected.
Incoming, large metallic, missile of some sort.
Kira tried to lock onto the missile to shoot it down, but was as unsuccessful as before.
I can't lock on the damn thing.
Chief O'Brien remained unruffled.
Don't worry, sir, the shields are holding.
But the missile passed through the shields as it would a pane of colored glass. Everyone froze. Only Sisko moved to the tractor beam console.
Batter up!
The commander activated the tractor beam, swept it like a baseball bat, and sent the missile spinning off above the station.
Blast. Foul ball.
O'Brien was stunned. What he had just seen was impossible by every rule of physics he knew.
Commander, it went right through the shields like they weren't there.
A white light flared on the screen. At the same time, every electronic display in ops blinked off, then flickered back on again.
Security here. Major Kira, are you all right?
Find Odo immediately. Urgent. Incoming number 2.
Kira followed Sisko's lead, using the tractor bat to knock the next missile far away before it exploded.
Chief, I want to know how a torpedo could slide through our shields like butter. Sir, I think we have a worse problem to worry about. What problem is that, O'Brien? Sir, when that thing exploded, it knocked our shields down for a half second. During that moment, I think they beamed some people aboard. Where? Promenade. Incoming 3!
Kira was kept busy for several minutes as the alien ship fired missile after missile.
Somebody has to go hunt them down. Where the hell is Odo? Gone since yesterday. I've got security out looking.
Just then, the station rocked as another missile exploded.
O'Brien, you know this station better than anyone. Beam directly to the security office and find those invaders. Sisko to Bashir.
The eager voice of Julian Bashir, the station's medical officer, answered immediately.
Bashir here, sir.
We're under attack. Casualties might be coming your way. It could get heavy, Doctor. We've been boarded by what might be a strike team. They're on the promenade.
I understand, sir. I'll prepare.
Kira, patch me station-wide.
This is Commander Sisko. I regret to inform you that Deep Space Nine has been invaded by a hostile force. There are invaders inside the station. Everybody must evacuate the promenade immediately. Return to the habitation ring. That is the direct order. Sisko out. Major, get me a continuous feed from O'Brien. I want to know everything that happens before it happens.
Miles O'Brien materialized in the security office. A platoon was just preparing to confront the invaders.
I hate to say this, but you'd better take me along.
The platoon crept along the promenade, following Chief O'Brien's tricorder readings. The chief held up his hand, and they all halted.
Just around the curve, 15 are bunched up in the middle of the deck, 20 meters ahead.
Lieutenant Moreau, Odo's second-in-command, nodded and put her finger to her lips. She gestured, and the platoon swept forward slowly. There was no mistaking the invaders. They looked like they stepped out of a holoplay about extragalactic stormtroopers. Gray and black armored suits, shiny black bubble helmets, and a strange-looking weapon O'Brien had never seen before. Lieutenant Moreau spoke through a universal translator PA system in her helmet.
Nobody move.
The aliens did not bother responding verbally. They leveled their own guns. Moreau's security platoon fired first. Cold blue phaser beams lanced out, and every shot hit its target. But the beams reflected in a kaleidoscopic swirl of high-intensity energy bursts that burned holes through the surrounding bulkheads. One reflected phaser blast caught a security woman in her midsection, killing her instantly. The invaders were not affected. They returned fire, and Miles O'Brien thought the gates of hell had opened wide. Their chemical explosive firearms were loud. He covered his ears, crouched for cover. The invaders' firearms fired rounds so quickly they functioned like directed energy weapons with terrific impact. Moreau slapped her comm badge and shouted an order.
Force shield 91 up!
Between the security force and the invaders, a shield popped up, shimmered protectively.
Retreat, regroup. Force shield 93 up!
Another shield popped up behind the invaders, trapping them.
I bet they're about to become great believers in diplomacy. I hope you're right. Personally, I have a bad feeling about this.
The invader leader strode forward, directly into the force shield. The shield crackled, and electricity discharged all around the invader's armor, outlining it. The invader continued walking, unimpeded. Its comrades followed. Moreau stared, astonished.
Fire! Hit him with everything!
The shots reflected as easily as before. Then the invaders raked the security team with automatic fire. The men and women to O'Brien's left were ripped open by the high-velocity projectiles. One of the invaders fired a large projectile into the platoon. The concussion knocked O'Brien off his feet from 10 meters away, sent him sliding along the deck, stunned but uninjured. The rest of the security platoon was in full flight, badly injured and shooting wildly. O'Brien sprinted back toward the security office, hearing another explosive concussion behind him as he ran. He felt like a coward for not staying and getting killed, even though he knew it was much more important that someone survive and warn the commander. O'Brien gasped for breath, spoke through the already open comm link.
Commander!
Cisco here.
They've got some kind of armor. Phasers don't affect them. We need something physical, something to kick their teeth in.
Damn! We've got to hold them on the promenade. If they get into ops or the habitat ring, we may as well abandon the whole station. Chief, can you make a phaser overload on cue?
Phaser grenade? I never tried, but sure, I guess.
Make some phaser grenades, then tell Dax how to make more. By the way, when was the last time you saw Odo?
Constable Odo? Yesterday. He had some box from the Gamma Quadrant he wanted me to scan. He had Quark in tow. I think it was Quark's box.
The Gamma Quadrant? What was in it?
Well, not much. A drain disruptor, some statues or something, and a device I couldn't make out on the scan.
What kind of device?
Low power, that's all I could tell. It didn't seem dangerous.
Cisco pondered. A device from the Gamma Quadrant, followed immediately by aliens from the Gamma Quadrant? This is not a coincidence. Odo and Quark had just begun to explore the promenade when Odo stopped, aghast. In the midst of the floor were the remains of one of his security platoons.
3 days. In 3 days, the universe has turned inside out.
Odo dropped to hands and knees to examine the battle scene from line of fire level. Casualties were 100%. Looking back in the apparent direction of the platoon's fire, the constable saw deep phaser burns in every surface, but almost none in the direct line of fire.
I would say the killers were wearing some sort of personal shields that deflected phaser blasts. But if you're saying these assassins can reflect phaser fire without having to absorb it, Odo, they're invulnerable? I don't believe in invulnerability, Quark. The Cardassians tell stories, tall tales about... No, forget it. They're just a myth. Boogeymen to frighten Cardassian children into obedience. Who are?
Ignoring the Ferengi's question, Odo continued around the promenade, picking his way among the dead bodies. He reached the schoolroom, where Keiko O'Brien, wife of the chief engineer, taught Federation and Bajoran children, including Jake Sisko, the commander's son, and Nog, the son of Quark's brother Rom. The pair gazed in shock at the schoolroom. It had been devastated by multiple bomb blasts. A woman was pinned beneath a collapsed bulkhead. She was not moving or making noise.
Quark, give me a hand.
They struggled the bulkhead off her body. Odo knelt to examine her. She had a gaping bullet wound in her forehead and had been dead for several days.
Who is she?
It's Keiko O'Brien, your nephew's teacher. Don't you even recognize her, Quark?
Odo pulled Keiko out of the rubble. The bullet had been fired at almost point-blank range, and the wound was surrounded by embedded grains of propellant.
If she was already dead, why is the schoolroom torn apart by explosives?
Maybe somebody's fighting back?
Quark, this is no ordinary terrorist rampage. These invaders destroyed practically the entire security force, but left no traces of themselves. Somebody jumped us hard, not Cardassians, Romulans, or Borg. There is only one explanation, Quark. Somebody came through the wormhole and obliterated Deep Space Nine.
Bloody hell! How did I get myself back in another war?
Blood sprayed as O'Brien had never seen before, covering everything and everybody. The invaders' guns shredded bulkheads, control pads, and anything else in the line of fire. The soft, indirect lighting of the promenade turned into the harsh glare of exposed filaments and yellow, sparking electrical discharges. O'Brien's ears rang so he could barely hear the cries of the dying. A blessing, he decided. He lobbed one of the only 4 phaser grenades he had managed to make before the invaders jumped them. It exploded with a roar that hurt even O'Brien's bruised eardrums. 3 invaders were knocked down, the first casualties inflicted on the enemy. But then they rose to their feet again and loosed volley after volley until the entire security platoon was dead. Only O'Brien himself escaped, hidden in an emergency power conduit. Stunned, he could only whisper,
Commander.
After a moment, Sisko's voice responded. The gain turned so low, O'Brien could barely hear it.
Sir, they got us. There's nobody left. The core section is completely undefended. Sir, did Keiko and Molly get out all right?
Kira's voice came online.
O'Brien, according to the sensors, they're still in the schoolroom with Jake and Nog.
Sir, you've got to get a lock on Keiko and the kids and beam them up to Ops.
Don't you think I've tried? Some sort of electromagnetic disruption field. They're jamming our transporters. We can't lock on anything. Invaders or anybody else.
Oh, for God's sakes, Commander, do something. They're headed toward the school.
Suddenly, Kira cut in again.
O'Brien, I've almost got a lock on you. Is there anything around you that could be blocking their electronic countermeasures?
The magnetic containment grid. I'm concealed near the emergency power conduit. The static charge of the grid must block their jamming.
Get inside the grid. Okay, you're locked. Energizing.
His gut wrenched as he materialized in a corner of the schoolroom, holding his last 2 phaser grenades, one in each hand. Keiko O'Brien had heard Sisko's evacuation order in the middle of a lesson. She began hustling the children out the door. They left immediately, except for Jake and Nog. Jake stayed because his father would have. Nog because Jake stayed. Molly O'Brien, the 3-year-old daughter of Keiko and Miles O'Brien, also stayed. She was too young to find her way back to the habitat ring by herself. Keiko was just about to grab Molly, Jake, and Nog and leave when 2 soldiers in black and gray armor and bubble helmets entered the classroom. One covered the room with his weapon. The other approached Keiko. She moved Molly behind her.
Where is the other one like us?
I don't understand the question.
Where is the other one like us?
Is there another one like you on board? Reflected in one of the display terminals, Keiko saw that Jake had crawled across the floor, shielded from the Inquisitor's view. He and Nog had silently opened a floor vent. It was too small for the armored invader, but big enough for the children and possibly Keiko herself, if she could reach it.
There is another one who looks like us. Where is the other being held?
Keiko felt Molly crouch. She presumed, she prayed, that Jake was urging Molly to crawl toward the vent. If the other is being held prisoner, he will be in a security cell.
You will take me to the security cell?
The Inquisitor raised its hand weapon, pointed it at Keiko's head. It moved forward, grabbed her shirt. From its new position, the Inquisitor could now see the vent and the escape in progress. The Inquisitor chittered an untranslated word, then an order to its comrade.
Kill small escaping animals.
Instantly, without a thought, Keiko launched herself at the Inquisitor with such unexpected force that she bore it to the deck. She covered its helmet with her body as it tried to wrench free. Then Keiko saw Miles materializing in the schoolroom. "Run, Miles! Run! Run! Run!" The Inquisitor grabbed her hair, yanked her head back. She saw the enormous barrel of his gun. Thunder reverberated in her head, echoing round her skull. No human being could survive a wound like Keiko's. O'Brien stared dully, his entire body numb. He thumbed the contacts on both his phaser grenades, tossed one at the feet of each invader. He made no effort to get out of the way of the blast. "I'm coming, Keiko, my love." The Inquisitor walked toward O'Brien just as the grenades detonated. Its armored body slammed into the chief, driving him back into a bulkhead and blackness. Quark and Odo cautiously explored the devastated station, wary of bumping into the Gamma Quadrant invaders at every step. They finally pushed through to cross over Tunnel 2, leading to the habitat ring.
I guess they like the dark.
Quark pointed at a shot-up junction node, beyond which the tunnel was plunged in Stygian blackness. They continued, footsteps echoing hollowly, as if in an ancient tomb. An emergency airlock door half-blocked the tunnel mouth. The door was blown off its track by a powerful explosive from the tunnel side. Odo examined the door in the faint starlight.
This is not a diplomatic or trading team. This was a combat unit. If the civilians were going to make a stand, the tunnel mouth would be a perfect spot.
The outer bulkhead was torn apart by a gigantic bomb blast, and every surface was covered with bullet holes and phaser scoring. The deck itself was torn apart, leaving gaping holes to drop an unwary Ferengi 2 or 3 levels through twisted metal ribbons. Quark leapt to a horizontal surface that resembled part of a wall, landing with an ominous echo, his path lit only by the electric torch Odo carried. Odo was right. The defenders had chosen the airlock at the end of Tunnel 2 to make a stand. At least 100 bodies lay where they had fallen, strewn randomly by a massive explosion.
Take a look, Quark. This is war in all its glory gore, not the clean, bloodless death of a phaser or disruptor. All right, start talking, Odo. You said before you might know these invaders. If you don't tell me, you're violating my civil rights. You're not civil, and criminals have no rights. I don't know for sure, Quark. I've heard tales. Yes? I've never seen documented evidence. There's no real name known for them. The Cardassians just call them...
Odo stopped, stared peculiarly down at a particular piece of wrecked metal. It looked like it was once an air duct.
Yes?
Odo knelt. There was a body in the duct.
Forget it, Odo. It's just another body. The corridor is full of them. What were you saying about the invaders or assassins or whatever they are? Silence, Quark.
Odo pulled the corpse of a man from its metal coffin. His left arm and shoulder were blown clean off, and the remaining flesh on that side was severely burned. Master Chief Miles O'Brien stared up at them through his unblinking, shrunken right eye.